I got a second chance at life, reborn as a trophy husband to a billionaire heiress. The dream, right? Except on day one of this new life, I was getting kicked to the curb by my mother-in-law and my ice queen of a wife, Isabella Vance. As a man of principle, I have my pride. I signed the divorce papers without a fight. Gave her everything. Walking out of the Vance family mansion, I never once looked back. I just glanced down at my watch. 2 o'clock. Perfect. Just enough time to make the husband auditions being held by the Vance family's mortal enemy, the infamous devil and Prada herself, Scarlett Reed of Reed Industries. If the Vances weren't going to let me live the easy life, then I'd just have to use my skills to land a bigger, better meal ticket. Isabella Vance, you're going to regret this. You didn't just lose an ex-husband. You lost the Michael Jordan of professional consorts. I stood at the curb with my suitcase, turning to give one last deep bow toward Isabella, who was watching from the second-floor balcony. Thank you for 3 years of professional development, Ms. Vance. I wish you booming business and a speedy bankruptcy. Dressed in a silk robe, Isabella leaned against the railing, her arms crossed, her face a mask of icy contempt. Have you lost your mind, Ethan? She let out a cold laugh, her voice dripping with disdain. Without the Vance family, you won't even have a roof over your head. I give you 3 days before you're sleeping under a bridge. I pulled out my phone, my fingers gliding across the screen with practiced ease. I appreciate the concern, Miss Vance, but my career trajectory doesn't include underpass living as a viable option. I tapped open my LinkedIn app. The destination displayed brightly on the screen. Reed Industries, Trophy Husband Open Editions. Isabella's pupils contracted. The Reeds, her family's sworn enemy for generations. I flashed the screen at her, offering a practiced, customer service smile. Goodbye, Ms. Vance. Or rather, good riddance. With that, I turned, hailed an Uber, and didn't look back. An hour later, the lobby of the Reed Industries Tower was a madhouse. It looked like an open casting call for a reality show. A motley crew of wannabes and never-wills had gathered, all hoping to hit the jackpot and become the man of the city's richest woman, Scarlett Reed. I squeezed through the crowd and saw her on a raised platform at the front. She was poured into a fire engine red dress, her long legs crossed, lips as red as her dress, and a look in her eyes that was 1 part playful curiosity and 99 parts profound boredom. That was her, Scarlett Reed, the wildest, most beautiful billionaire in New York City. The men on stage were pulling out all the stops to get a reaction from her. One guy was doing a pathetic magic trick with a deck of cards. Another was butchering a pop love song. Scarlett stifled a yawn, clearly over the amateur hour performances. A greasy-looking guy in a tight shirt stepped up, winking at her. Ms. Reed, I will make you the happiest woman in the world. Scarlett picked up a bottle of Fiji water from her table and chucked it at his head. Next. If the next one is this boring, I'm going home. The entire room went silent. I took a deep breath. My time had come. I pushed through the crowd and vaulted onto the stage in one smooth motion. Ms. Reed, talent shows are so lowbrow. I've prepared a business proposal for you instead. I opened my suitcase, pulled out a laptop, and connected it to the massive screen behind the stage. A single line of text appeared in bold letters. A feasibility analysis on providing high-quality spousal services to a wealthy benefactor. The crowd gasped. A flicker of genuine interest finally appeared in Scarlett's eyes. Oh, I'm listening. I cleared my throat and clicked to the first slide. First, KPI-driven performance management. I've broken down the duties of a trophy husband into 3 core modules: domestic administration, emotional value provision, and external image curation. For domestic administration, I have mastered 36 distinct floor polishing techniques and can use calculus to determine the most efficient cleaning path, guaranteeing a shine so perfect that flies will do the splits and mosquitoes will slip. For emotional value, I can identify your mood within 1 second and activate a corresponding library of compliments, ensuring all flattery is precisely targeted and never repetitive. For image curation, I will automatically coordinate my wardrobe to complement your own, ensuring that whenever we step out, we are the most stylish couple on the block. To add a little flair, I demonstrated a skill I'd spent 3 years perfecting at the Vance estate. I pulled a single shrimp from my pocket, and with one hand, in 3 seconds flat, a perfectly peeled, glistening piece of shrimp lay in my palm. One-handed shrimp peeling. To ensure your dining elegance is never compromised. Next, I glanced at the glass of water on Scarlett's table. That water is approximately 113 degrees Fahrenheit. The optimal temperature for a woman to drink. A technique I call thermos vision. That did it. Scarlett burst out laughing. She was laughing so hard she was bent over, tears streaming down her face. The men in the audience stared dumbfounded. They never imagined the competition to be a kept man could be this intense. Scarlett finally caught her breath, leaning forward with genuine interest. You're something else. What kind of compensation are you looking for? I pushed up a pair of non-existent glasses, my expression dead serious. A monthly salary of $500,000 after taxes. A top-tier 401k and health plan are non-negotiable. Furthermore, this limited edition Versace suit I'm wearing was my severance package for my last project. It must be reimbursed by the company as a signing bonus. The demand was so outrageous, it was like a new CEO laying out his terms, not a guy applying to be a husband. Everyone thought I was insane. But Scarlett just laughed even harder. She slammed her hand on the table. Done. You're hired. HR, get him processed. We're going to City Hall today to sign the papers. Just then my phone buzzed. It was a text from Isabella. Ethan, stop this childish tantrum. Come back and apologize, and I'll let you sleep in the doghouse. I looked at the condescending, charity case text and just smiled. I took a picture of the freshly printed marriage certificate, zooming in on the official city seal, and sent it back to her. My reply, do not disturb. Currently employed by a competitor. Ms. Reed is beautiful, kind, and the benefits are excellent. Message sent. I could only imagine the look on Isabella's face on the other end of that line. Back at the Vance estate, a sharp crack echoed through the living room. Isabella had hurled her phone against the marble floor, the screen shattering into a spiderweb of cracks. It's a fake. You must have paid someone to make a fake certificate just to spite me. Her chest heaved, refusing to accept it. The man who had bowed and scraped in her house for 3 years, who barely dared to look her in the eye. How could he have landed Scarlett Reed an hour after leaving her? She didn't believe it. It had to be an act, a desperate play to make her feel regret. Meanwhile, I was sitting in the back of a Rolls-Royce, admiring the glittering Manhattan skyline from the window of Scarlett Reed's penthouse. All right, spill it. Are you a corporate spy sent by Isabella Vance? Scarlett asked, swirling a glass of red wine, her eyes sharp. I immediately sat up straight, shifting into professional mode. Ms. Reed, that's an insult to my professional ethics. My name is Ethan Hayes, and now that I'm on your payroll, I'm your man. Loyalty is the first rule of being a professional consort. To prove my value, I rolled up my sleeves. Mr. Peterson, I said, addressing the elderly butler. Forgive me for being blunt, but while you were cleaning earlier, you missed at least 5 critical spots. I pointed to the crevices in the crystal chandelier, the deep pile of the Persian rug, the inner lip of an antique vase. I listed them one by one. Mr. Peterson, a man in his 60s, stood there completely stunned. I grabbed a dust cloth and personally demonstrated my signature cyclonic dusting technique, leaving a section of the floor so polished you could see your reflection in it. Scarlett was thoroughly impressed. She lounged on the sofa, asking lazily, if you're this good, why did Isabella let you go? The mere mention of it set me off. I launched into a righteous tirade. Ms. Reed, you have no idea. The Vances not only failed to pay me overtime for my emotional labor, but they also subjected me to personal humiliation. Scarlett raised an eyebrow. Oh, did they hit you? Worse than hitting me, I said, my voice filled with anguish. They made me eat leftovers. For someone in my profession, that is the ultimate disgrace. It's blasphemy. Scarlett stared at me for a second, then erupted into a peal of laughter that echoed through the penthouse. She laughed until tears streamed down her face, then pulled a black credit card from her purse and shoved it into my hand. Take it. Unlimited limit. From now on, in my house, not only will you be a kept man, you will be a kept man with dignity. You'll be the proudest damn freeloader in this city. I accepted the card, my eyes welling up with tears of gratitude. Ms. Reed, you're like a second mother to me. I swear, I will serve you with every fiber of my being until the day I die. Right in the middle of my dramatic loyalty pledge, my phone rang. It was my former mother-in-law, Mrs. Vance. I put it on speaker, and a shrill, venomous voice filled the room. "Ethan, you ungrateful snake. We fed you for 3 years, and this is how you repay us? You get your ass back here right now and apologize to Isabella." I cleared my throat and replied in a perfect, automated customer service voice. "Hello, the ex-husband you were trying to reach has been successfully headhunted and upgraded to strategic partner and chairman spouse at Reed Industries. His schedule is currently full. To book an appointment, please contact his secretary. Thank you for your call. Have a pleasant day and goodbye." I hung up. There was a 10-second silence on the other end, followed by a faint, infuriated shriek. Scarlett was practically crying with laughter beside me. She clapped me on the shoulder. "Well played. There's a charity gala tomorrow night. Isabella is hosting. You're coming with me." A mischievous glint appeared in her eyes. "Let's show her that the trash she threw out is the treasure I picked up." I understood the mission completely. "Roger that. I'll arrange for a battle-ready tuxedo immediately. I guarantee we'll blind them all with our sheer awesomeness." This wasn't just my first major project on the job. It was the decisive battle to prove my market value. Ethan Hayes, had to win. The charity gala was held at the most exclusive hotel in the city. The air was thick with perfume and the clinking of champagne glasses. As the host, Isabella stood at the entrance in a stunning white couture gown, as cold and beautiful as the moon. By her side was a new face, a handsome, polished guy who looked like he'd just stepped out of an Ivy League alumni magazine. He was obviously trying to impress her, whispering introductions into her ear. Though Isabella wore a polite, plastic smile, her eyes kept darting to the entrance, as if she was waiting for someone. And then, the entire ballroom fell silent. Scarlett and I had arrived. She was a vision in a blazing red gown. I was at her side in a $1 million, custom-tailored suit flown in overnight from Milan. Black fabric with a subtle, shimmering gold thread pattern that caught the light with every move. It was outrageously flamboyant. I took Scarlett's arm, my chin held high, radiating an aura of untouchable confidence. Our entrance stole every eye in the room. The color drained from Isabella's face. The preppy guy next to her, Bradley, clearly sensed a threat and frowned. Mrs. Vance was the first to crack. She strutted over, a glass of champagne in her hand, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Well, if it isn't Ethan. Looks like the stray cat landed on its feet. But a crown on a pig doesn't make it a prince. Did you rent that suit? Must be costing you a fortune by the hour." Before I could answer, Scarlett smiled. She gently brushed a non-existent piece of lint from my sleeve. "Darling, you really shouldn't wear your work uniform to these events. If it gets dirty, I'll have to expense it, and that's such a hassle." I played along, putting on a wounded expression. "I am sorry, honey. This was the cheapest one we own." One work uniform, one cheapest one, and Mrs. Vance was left speechless, her face turning the color of a plum. I looked at her, pretending to just now recognize her. "Oh my, isn't this Mom? Oh, silly me. Mrs. Vance, you're here too." "Ew," she sputtered, her finger trembling with rage. I ignored her and made a beeline for the buffet. Rule number 7 of the Professional Husband's Code: never fight on an empty stomach. Bradley Davenport followed me, clearly looking to challenge me on my own turf. He held up a glass of wine, trying to sound sophisticated. "Mr. Hayes, are you a wine connoisseur? This is an 82 Lafite, robust, with a hint of oak." I took the glass, swirled it, took a tiny sip, then closed my eyes in rapture. "No, you're mistaken." I opened my eyes, my gaze deep and profound. "This wine is indeed from the Médoc region on the left bank of Bordeaux, 1982. But what you failed to detect is that the grapes were harvested on a drizzly afternoon. The picker who harvested them had argued with his wife that morning over something trivial, so he was feeling a bit melancholy. That melancholy has imbued this wine with an almost imperceptible note of sorrow. I delivered this complete nonsense with a dead-straight face. Bradley was floored, his mouth hanging open. He couldn't form a word. The people around us were looking at me with newfound respect. Scarlett came over, smoothly took the glass from my hand, took a sip, then plucked a grape from a fruit platter and held it to my lips. "Darling, ignore him. Let's just eat." I immediately opened my mouth. accepting the grape with an expression of pure bliss and devotion. Thank you, my love. Grapes from you are always the sweetest. To everyone else, it looked like an intimate, loving moment. Only I knew it was pure, unadulterated professional performance. Isabella watched from a distance, her hand clenched so tight her knuckles were white. Her face had gone from pale to a sickly green. Once upon a time, I had peeled a whole plate of shrimp for her, just like that. She had always just waved her hand impatiently, dismissing it with a disgusted, "It's messy." A strange, sour feeling pricked at her heart. The auction began. The final item was a diamond necklace donated by Isabella. The bidding started at $1 million. To impress her, Bradley immediately raised his paddle. $1.1 million. I raised mine without hesitation. $2 million. The room turned to look at me. Bradley gritted his teeth. $2.1 million. I raised my paddle again. $3 million. I was a relentless bidding machine. Every time he raised it, I added another million. The money was all Scarlett's. I felt zero pain spending it. She sat beside me, not only not stopping me, but watching with a proud, maternal smile, as if her son was winning a video game. In the end, I won the necklace for $5 million. Isabella's expression was thunderous. She finally couldn't take it anymore and walked over, hissing at me under her breath. "Ethan, have you no shame? You'll do anything for money, won't you?" I took the necklace from the attendant, casually draped it around my own neck, and adjusted my tie. "Ms. Vance, please show some respect. This is my job. I'm generating emotional value for my employer." I leaned in close, my voice a whisper only she could hear. "I am now Ms. Reed's dedicated emotional support specialist, billed by the hour. In the last few minutes, the value I've created is higher than your company's stock price today." Isabella swayed on her feet, barely able to stand. She stared at the necklace around my neck. The necklace that should have been hers, now a tool for Scarlett and me to humiliate her. Her composure finally shattered. After the gala, things at Vance Enterprises got even worse. Following some of my out-of-the-box suggestions, Scarlett, whether through sheer luck or my bizarre genius, managed to snatch a massive project that the Vance family had been preparing for half a year. When the news broke, Vance Enterprises' stock plummeted. Panic spread through the company. Late one night, I got a call from Isabella. She was drunk, her voice choked with sobs. "Ethan, why are you doing this to me? The project is gone. The company is failing. My father's heart condition is acting up." She rambled on, half confessing, half accusing. I listened patiently, then replied in a calm, neutral tone. "Ma'am, our system has detected that you may be at risk of an emotional support scam. We advise you to immediately download the FTC Scam Alert app to avoid being misled by fraudulent memories." There was a long silence on the other end, then the sound of the call disconnecting like a heart breaking. I put down my phone and got back to my work. Scarlett's birthday was coming up. As the gold standard of trophy husbands, I had to prepare a gift of epic proportions to solidify my position in the household. After 3 days and nights of meticulous design, I commissioned a massive custom-made banner. The pole was solid gold-plated mahogany. The banner itself was top-grade velvet, and across it, in letters made of crushed diamonds, were 5 words: "Husband of the Century." Signed, "Your little angel, Ethan." On the day I was to pick it up, I wore a special sequin suit, ready to surprise Scarlett. But on my way to the custom shop, I spotted a familiar car, Isabella's Bentley. And tailing her, not too close but not too far, was a black cargo van. My gut told me something was about to go down. Out of a sense of humanitarian concern for a former colleague, and the professional curiosity of a drama enthusiast, I discreetly followed them. The cars drove further and further out of the city, and finally, on a deserted stretch of highway, the van slammed on its accelerator, cut off the Bentley, and screeched to a halt. Several large men in ski masks jumped out and violently dragged Isabella from her car. I immediately parked in a grove of trees nearby, pulling out my phone to call 911 and, of course, to record the spectacle. However, I had forgotten what I was wearing today. Under the bright sun, my sequin suit reflected light in every direction, making me shine like a disco ball in the desert. One of the kidnappers squinted, pointing in my direction. "What the hell is that shiny thing over there?" Busted. Before I could react, 2 of them were on me, yanking me out of my car. "Hey guys, I'm on your side. Just here for the show." Shut up. Grab him too. And just like that, I, an innocent bystander, was forcibly recruited into a kidnapping plot because my outfit was too fabulous. In a dusty, abandoned warehouse, Isabella and I were tied back to back to a metal pillar. The air smelled of decay and desperation. Isabella looked at me, tears glistening in her eyes, her voice trembling with emotion. Ethan, you came to save me, didn't you? I knew it. I knew you still had feelings for me. Listening to her delusional monologue, I felt my sanity begin to fray. I wriggled against the ropes and yelled at the kidnapper-in-chief, who was standing a few feet away. Hey, boss, can you guys tie a little gentler? This suit is made from premium Italian silk. It's very delicate. If you leave a wrinkle in it, my boss is going to dock my pay. The tears of gratitude on Isabella's face froze. The kidnappers just stared at each other, clearly having never encountered such a bizarre hostage. The leader, annoyed, walked over and patted my cheek. Listen, kid, you better shut your mouth, or you're the first one we get rid of. Far from being scared, I started to negotiate. Look, man, you're in this for the money, right? Killing me is bad for business. How about this? When you film the ransom video, can you use a beauty filter on me? And get some good lighting, make me look handsome. That way, my boss will be willing to pay more. I even started directing their lighting setup. Move that lamp a little to the left. Yeah, right there. A 45-degree angle from above. It brings out my jawline. The kidnappers were completely bewildered. One of them, the hot-tempered one, pulled out a knife and pressed it against my throat. You say one more goddamn word, and I'll gut you right now. The cold steel against my skin finally shut me up. Next to me, Isabella saw this and went pale with fear. She struggled violently, screaming, "Don't hurt him. You want money? I'll give you money. Take me instead." I was busy calculating if this counted as a workplace injury and whether I could claim double compensation. But before I could even feel a flicker of gratitude, I noticed the tip of the knife was pointed directly at the cuff of my suit. That cuff was embroidered with pure gold thread. I panicked, shouting even louder than Isabella. No, not the suit. This is a global limited edition Versace. It's the only one in the city. You can't afford to replace it if you break it. My shriek was more piercing than hers. My reaction seemed to enrage the kidnapper. Oh yeah? Watch me, he roared, raising the knife and plunging it down toward me. In that split second, Isabella wrenched herself free with all her might and threw her body in front of mine. Schlick! The knife sank into her shoulder. Blood instantly stained her white blouse, and the sharp edge of the blade also sliced through the sleeve of my suit. A glaring tear. Isabella let out a choked gasp and slumped against me, her face as white as a sheet. She looked up at me weakly, a pained smile on her lips. Ethan, now! We're even. The warehouse fell silent. The kidnappers were stunned. My hand trembling, I touched the blood on her shoulder, then looked down at the rip in my sleeve. A second later, I let out a blood-curdling, soul-shattering scream. Aya, my Versace, my limited edition. It has a hole in it. My wails echoed through the building, a sound of pure, unadulterated grief. How am I supposed to attend a company victory party tomorrow? My professional image is ruined. Isabella, who was already on the verge of passing out, took one look at me, and her eyes rolled back in her head. She was nearly angered to death on the spot. With her last ounce of strength, she pointed at her bleeding shoulder. Ethan, don't you see I'm bleeding? I pointed furiously at my sleeve, even more agitated than she was. You're bleeding. You can go to a hospital and get a transfusion. Can my suit magically regenerate? This was a signing bonus for Ms. Reed. It's a symbol of honor. It's my creed. The knife clattered from the kidnapper leader's hand. He stared at me with a look of awe and utter confusion. Dude, you are one cold-hearted son of a bitch. Just then, the warehouse doors were kicked open. Scarlett stormed in, dressed in a black tactical-style outfit, flanked by dozens of bodyguards. She radiated power. Her eyes scanned the room, finally landing on the tear in my sleeve. Her voice dropped to absolute zero. You dare to touch my man's suit. The kidnapper's legs gave out. They all dropped to their knees in unison. Well, at least that saved me the trouble of billing them for the suit. In the hospital, Isabella lay in a VIP suite, her shoulder bandaged. Though I had nearly sent her to an early grave with my antics, Once she calmed down, some twisted part of her brain convinced her that my deranged behavior was just a cover for my profound pain and concern for her. Yes, that must be it, she thought. The more he pretends not to care, the more he truly does. In the room next door, Scarlett was gracefully peeling an apple for me while I was still in mourning for my fallen Versace. Don't be sad. I'll have 10 more flown in for you, in every color you want, Scarlett consoled me. My mood instantly brightened. Just then, a nurse came in to say Isabella was awake and wanted to see me. I walked into her room. She was propped up against her pillows, pale but with a complicated look in her eyes. Ethan, stop pretending. Her voice was hoarse, filled with a knowing certainty. I know you still care about me. You were worried, weren't you? I pulled out my phone and opened the calculator app. Right in front of her, I started tapping away. Ms. Vance, good, you're awake. Let's go over the bill. First, the limited edition Versace suit. Original price, $1.2 million. Due to its permanent destruction resulting from your heroic but unsolicited actions, we'll call it an even $1 million for depreciation. Second, emotional distress damages. As a professional consort, my image has been tarnished and my psyche deeply wounded. That'll be $500,000. And finally, loss of income. I was supposed to attend a victory party. My time spent here with you has prevented me from earning my emotional value stipend. Let's call it $380,000. I'll give you a discount. The total comes to $1,880,000. Would that be Venmo or a wire transfer? The color drained from Isabella's face so fast she looked like a ghost. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. I saved your life. I puffed out my chest indignantly. First, you were the target of the kidnapping. I was an innocent bystander caught in your mess. Second, you threw yourself in front of that knife voluntarily. I never asked you to. And third, your actions directly resulted in the loss of my property, for which you are legally and financially responsible. Ms. Vance, we're adults. We have to be governed by logic and the law, not messy emotions. Don't you agree? Isabella started trembling with rage. She ripped the four from her arm and threw a pillow at my head. Ethan, you bastard. I'm going to kill you. Nurses and doctors rushed in, trying to restrain the hysterical patient. Scarlett leaned against the doorframe, laughing uncontrollably. She walked in, picked up the pillow, and dusted it off. Ms. Vance, calm down. It's just a couple of million. Think of it as a very expensive lesson. She leaned down and whispered in Isabella's ear like a demon. And by the way, that suit my husband was wearing? It was actually a high-end replica, worth maybe a few $1,000. But you fell for it, didn't you? Isabella's eyes went wide. She let out a choked gasp and fainted again. I looked at the transfer notification that had just hit my account and broken my most brilliant smile. Thank you for your generosity, Ms. Vance. Feel free to take a knife from me anytime. Oh, I mean get well soon and goodbye forever. With this unexpected windfall, I felt my career had reached a whole new level. Back at the penthouse, Scarlett wasn't upset about my scene at the hospital. Instead, she gave me a huge bonus, calling it an Outstanding Employee Award and Workplace Injury Compensation. She tilted my chin up, smiling like the cat that got the canary. Ethan, I like you more and more every day. I just love this ruthless, bottom-line driven, killer instinct you have. It's all thanks to your excellent mentorship, Ms. Reed, I replied humbly. As a reward, Scarlett signed over the project we'd snatched from the Vances, a massive development in the north side of the city, and put me in full charge. Of course, it was in name only. The actual project manager did all the work. My job was to show up, look important, and enjoy the perks of being the boss. On my first day, I drove the new sports car Scarlett had bought me to the construction site. And who should I run into at the site entrance but Isabella Vance? She was probably there to try and salvage some relationship with the contractors. Dressed in a business suit, she still looked pale and fragile from her injury. When she saw me get out a flashy, canary yellow convertible, she froze. Her expression grew even more complicated when she learned I was now the person in charge of the entire project. She dismissed her assistant and walked over to me, trying to play the sympathy card. Ethan, I was wrong before. She looked down, her voice soft. I shouldn't have treated you that way. Shouldn't have ignored your feelings. Come back. I can make you a vice president. You can have a real career of your own. I recoiled in horror, taking 2 steps back as if she'd suggested I join a death cult. A VP? Ms. Vance, are you serious? You mean I'd have to clock in every day, go to meetings? Look at spreadsheets. I pointed at the bustling construction site, my voice filled with pain. At Reed Industries, my daily tasks consist of making my wife laugh, helping her spend money, hitting the gym in the afternoon, and getting a massage in the evening. Life is beautiful. And you want me to come back and do actual work? Ms. Vance, are you trying to kill me so you can inherit my... Oh, wait, I don't think I have any assets for you to inherit. Isabella was completely thrown by my twisted logic. She stood there, stunned, muttering to herself, but don't all men want to build something, to have a real career? I wagged my finger at her like a wise old philosopher. Ms. Vance, your perspective is too narrow. My career is being a kept man, but I don't see it as being a parasite. I see it as the pinnacle of the service industry. My goal is to do it with style, with skill, to become the industry benchmark, a legend who can never be replicated. The vice presidency you're offering me? That's not a career. That's a prison. It's a betrayal of my professional dream. My shocking declaration left Isabella speechless. Even a few construction workers who had overheard stopped to listen, their eyes filled with a mixture of awe and envy. I heard one of them whisper, "You got a point. Why kill yourself working? That's the dream." Seeing Isabella's entire worldview crumble before me was immensely satisfying. The game has changed, Ms. Vance. Your whole brooding CEO falls for me script is obsolete. Not when you're up against a professional consort. With her emotional appeal a total failure, Isabella's crazy mother decided to enter the fray. Mrs. Vance somehow rounded up a mob of reporters and showed up outside the Reed Industries building, holding giant banners with black text on a white background. Ethan Hayes, modern-day scumbag, dumps wife for a rival tycoon. Ungrateful and shameless. Suddenly, I was the talk of the town, the villain of the century. In Scarlett's office, the head of PR was sweating bullets. Ms. Reed, the internet is flooded with negative press about Mr. Hayes. We need to do damage control now. Scarlett just sat in her throne-like chair, casually scrolling through the gossip sites on her phone. She looked at me, scared. I was busy scooping Haagen-Dazs into my mouth. Of what? I said, not even looking up. All press is good press. Once my name recognition is high enough, I can start my own lifestyle brand. The Professional Consort Collection. It'll sell out. Seeing how unconcerned I was, Scarlett relaxed. She waved her hand. All right, everyone out. Let him handle it. I put down my ice cream, wiped my mouth, and went downstairs to face the media circus. I also started an Instagram live stream on my phone. The moment Mrs. Vance saw me, her inner drama queen took over. She threw herself on the ground and started wailing. Everyone look, it's him, the ungrateful snake. We fed and housed him for 3 years, and now that he's made it, he's turned on us. He's helping outsiders destroy our family business. She cried with such conviction you'd think she was the victim of the century. The reporters' flashes went off like strobes, their microphones practically shoved down my throat. Mr. Hayes, do you have a comment? I remained calm. In fact, I turned to the cameras and started my own performance. I pulled a small notebook from my pocket and opened it. Members of the press, followers on my live stream, take a good look. This is my personally kept log from my 3 years at the Vance household, my daily chore list, and my diary of suffering. My voice trembled with a perfectly feigned sense of injustice. For 3 years, I woke up at 6 every morning to make breakfast, mop the floors, and walk the dog. I couldn't go to bed until the entire family was asleep. The clothes I wore were hand-me-downs from Ms. Vance's chauffeur. The food I ate was the leftovers from their housekeeper's plate. Their dog ate imported gourmet kibble. Me, I was treated worse than the dog. Now, I've used my own skills to find an employer who respects me and treats me with dignity. I get to eat a hot meal, wear new clothes. Is that so wrong? My performance was Oscar-worthy. The comments on my live stream exploded. Holy crap, is that what life is like for a trophy husband? I feel so bad for him. Eating leftovers is so humiliating. That mother-in-law is clearly a monster. Just then, Scarlett appeared, walking through the crowd like a queen, flanked by bodyguards. She came to my side, pulled me into an embrace, and draped her own expensive coat over my shoulders. She looked directly into the cameras and declared, her voice ringing with authority, "Ethan Hayes is my man and the future master of the Reed household. Anyone who bullies him is making an enemy of me, Scarlett Reed, and an enemy of the multi-billion-dollar Reed Industries." Her legal team then stepped forward and handed the still wailing Mrs. Vance a cease and desist letter. "Ma'am, you are being formally sued for public defamation and slander." Mrs. Vance froze, completely dumbfounded. Isabella arrived just in time to see the whole thing. She had come to stop the madness, but was instead met with the sight of me, hiding behind Scarlett, shooting her a triumphant, cheeky wink. The tide of public opinion had completely turned. My live stream was flooded with comments. The gold standard of gold diggers. A role model for our generation. Teach a masterclass. I want to be a professional consort too. The media war meticulously planned by my ex-mother-in-law had backfired spectacularly, turning into my own personal fan convention. My professional reputation had reached an all-time high. After that fiasco, Isabella fell deep into a strange spiral of self-doubt and delusion. She refused to believe I had truly moved on. She convinced herself that everything I was doing, the public spectacle, the alliance with Scarlett, was an elaborate, extreme form of revenge for how she'd treated me. It was all just a desperate cry for her attention. He still loves me, she decided. He's just hurting me to express the intensity of his love. Having reached this conclusion, Isabella began a campaign of crazed compensation. She started sending me gifts. A Patek Philippe watch, a limited edition Lamborghini, a penthouse apartment downtown. An endless stream of luxury goods arrived at Scarlett's front door. As a man of integrity, my response to these gifts was simple: accept everything. Then, I immediately listed them on eBay. The description for each item was the same. Unwanted gift from an ex. Bad juju. Selling for cheap, just want it gone. Scarlett found it hilarious, watching me haggle with buyers over a Lamborghini I'd gotten for free. "Aren't you worried she'll find out and actually, repent for real?" she asked. I was busy counting a fresh pile of cash. "Ms. Reed, you don't understand," I said without looking up. "It's called the sunk cost fallacy. The more she invests in me, the harder it is for her to let go. And the harder it is for her to let go, the more I can leverage her so-called deep affection to create value for our company." My cold-blooded logic even gave Scarlett pause. When gifts didn't work, Isabella tried for sentiment. She booked out the most romantic revolving restaurant in the city and invited me to dinner. I graciously accepted, and I brought Scarlett with me. My official reason: to conduct market research on a competitor's taste in fine dining. At the restaurant, with a string quartet playing softly, Isabella sat waiting for me, wearing a dress I used to love on her. Her eyes were filled with a deep, soulful emotion. "Ethan, can we start over? I admit, I was wrong before." She began recounting old memories, trying to rekindle a flame that had long since died. Meanwhile, I was fully engaged in a battle with a massive Maine lobster on my plate. I expertly cracked the shell, extracted the juiciest piece of meat, and placed it on Scarlett's plate. Scarlett smiled sweetly. "Thank you, darling." Isabella's heartfelt confession was completely ignored. Her face cycled through shades of red and white. Finally, she broke, her voice cracking. "Ethan, can't you even look at me?" I finally looked up from my lobster, my mouth full. "Will you pay me to look at you?" I asked, chewing. "I don't do things for free." The dam broke. Isabella's tears started to fall. She watched as Scarlett and I flirted and shared our meal, while she sat there like a clown at a feast she had arranged, completely alone. Her deep, heartfelt emotions had been utterly pulverized by my cold, hard capitalism. Isabella was finally, truly enraged. She decided to beat me and Scarlett. On the one field she thought she could win, business. She would prove she was better than Scarlett, and that my choice had been a mistake. She leveraged every last dollar the Vance family had and bet it all on one project: the auction for a newly developed plot of land in the North End. If she could secure it, Vance Enterprises could be saved. Inside Reed Industries, there was also interest in the land, but our analysis concluded it was too risky, too much of a capital strain. Scarlett was on the fence. Seeing her worried frown, I volunteered. "Ms. Reed, perhaps. You could send me in as a double agent? I said with a mysterious smile. Or rather, let me go offer Ms. Vance some friendly advice. That night, using a burner phone, I sent Isabella a single text. Isabella, it's me, Ethan. To be honest, I've never been able to forget you. Take my advice. The feng shui on that North End plot is terrible. Don't buy it. After sending the message, I snapped the SIM card in half. When Isabella received the text, she was stunned for a moment, then laughed coldly. So that's his game. He's helping Scarlett, trying to use psychological warfare to make me back down. The more he tells me not to buy it, the more it means Scarlett wants it. She was convinced it was a trick and became even more determined to win the land at any cost. In reality, my feng shui analysis had come from a fortune teller on a street corner I'd paid $50. At the auction, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. The representatives for Vance and Reed were locked in a fierce bidding war. The price skyrocketed. Finally, Isabella went all in, placing a bid that was astronomically higher than the market value. The hammer fell. She had won. She shot a triumphant, defiant look in Scarlett's direction. Scarlett, despite losing, showed no emotion. On the way back, she asked me, "You knew this was going to happen, didn't you?" I leaned back in a leather seat, affecting an air of wisdom. Patience. Let's just let the story unfold. The next day, a bombshell news report rocked the city. During a preliminary survey of the newly auctioned North End plot, construction crews had accidentally unearthed a perfectly preserved, historically significant Native American burial ground. According to federal and state preservation laws, all commercial development on the site was immediately halted for emergency archaeological excavation. The process could take 3 years, 5 years, maybe even a decade. The Vance family had mortgaged everything to buy that land. Now, with the asset frozen, the banks came calling. The Vance Enterprises financial chain snapped. In her office, Scarlett looked from the news report to me, her eyes wide with a mixture of shock and awe. You actually predicted that." I took a sip of my coffee, a knowing smile on my face. "No, I just have unwavering faith in Isabella's absolutely cursed luck. The war was won without firing a single shot. Vance Enterprises was finished. The bankruptcy and liquidation of the Vance family assets became the biggest news story for weeks. The cherry on top was that the day before the company officially declared bankruptcy, Mrs. Vance cleared out the last of the company's cash reserves and fled the country, leaving Isabella to deal with the mountain of debt and the mess. Abandoned by everyone. Overnight, the untouchable Ice Queen became a disgraced and destitute pariah. Her mansions, her luxury cars, everything was seized to pay off creditors. She finally got a taste of what it was like to be thrown out with nothing. One night, during a torrential downpour, she appeared outside the gates of Scarlett's estate. She was soaked to the bone, shivering, her eyes empty and hollow. The scene was eerily familiar. It was a night just like this when I was kicked out of her house. Scarlett saw her on the security monitor and nodded at me. "Go on. Time to take care of your loose ends." I nodded back, put on a custom waterproof trench coat, zipping it up carefully to protect the suit underneath. Then I opened a ridiculously large black umbrella and walked outside. Through the curtain of rain, Isabella saw me and looked as if she'd found her last hope for survival. She ran toward me, trying to grab my arm, but I sidestepped her neatly. She was crying, her voice raw. "Ethan, I was wrong. I was so wrong. I have nothing left now. I only have you." I looked at her pathetic state and felt nothing. I sighed, not for her, but for the fact that this tedious drama was finally ending. "Ms. Vance, did you know that with your current resume and personal situation, you wouldn't even qualify for a janitorial position at Reed Industries?" My words were a knife twisting in her gut. She staggered, the tears flowing faster. I don't want anything, no status, nothing. Just let me stay by your side. I'll do anything." I took out my wallet, pulled out a $10 bill, and held it out to her. "Here." She stared blankly at the soggy bill. "This is the cab fare you gave me when you threw me out. I'm returning it." I paused, my voice growing cold. "As for staying by my side, I'm afraid not. The first rule of my profession is to never go back for seconds, especially not for a moldy, spoiled piece of leftovers that could jeopardize my career." I closed my umbrella and turned to leave. Isabella completely broke down, screaming in my back with all her might. "Ethan, you have no heart." I stopped but didn't turn around. "You're wrong. I have a heart. It's just very, very expensive, and you can no longer afford it." With that, I walked through the golden gates of the estate, shutting out her cries and her despair, leaving her alone in the cold, dark rain. "Isabella, you didn't lose me. You just lost the fool whose entire world once revolved around you. And that fool died a long time ago." A year later, Reed Industries, having absorbed the remnants of the Vance empire, had grown into a corporate juggernaut. For my one-year wedding anniversary with Scarlett, we threw a party more extravagant than any business gala. At the party, in front of all the media and business elites, Scarlett made a shocking announcement. She was unconditionally transferring 50% of her company's shares to me. The room erupted. A reporter broke through security and shoved a microphone in my face. "Mr. Hayes, what's your secret? How did you manage to make a powerful woman like Scarlett Reed so completely devoted to you?" In the spotlight, I smoothed down the lapels of my suit. I had specifically chosen to wear the Versace that had been torn. Scarlett had found the world's best artisan to repair the rip, embroidering a delicate rose with gold thread over the hole. It was no longer a flaw. It was a medal of honor. I turned to the cameras and gave them my signature smile, a perfect blend of humility and smugness. It's actually quite simple. I cleared my throat, ready to deliver the acceptance speech I had been rehearsing for a year. You just have to treat being a kept man with the grit and determination of a starving artist and approach marrying for money with the dedication of a CEO building an empire. If you do that, there's no meal you can't eat and no woman you can't win. The applause was deafening. Far away, in a forgotten corner of the city, Isabella stood outside a convenience store, watching me on the small TV screen, a radiant star. Her eyes were filled with nothing but infinite regret and shadows. Later that night, back at the penthouse, Scarlett had shed her powerful CEO persona. She was lounging on the sofa, swirling a glass of wine. "Seriously, Ethan, if I ever went bankrupt, if I ended up like Isabella, would you leave?" I immediately became serious and pulled out my phone, opening the calculator. Based on my analysis of big data and probabilistic models, the chances of you going bankrupt are smaller than the chances of me being abducted by aliens for research in the next 5 seconds. However, I put my phone down, sat next to her, and pulled her into my arms. If that day ever came, and I was broke and you were broke, I leaned in and whispered in her ear, "I'd take you with me, and we'd go marry into the next rich family. I'd still be the gold standard trophy husband, and you could be my dowry. The two of us, a team, ready to fleece the next billionaire." Scarlett stared at me for a second, then kicked me in the leg, laughing as she cursed. "Get out of here." I held her tight, laughing like a kid who had just been given all the candy in the world. Man, being a kept man was the best.